You're listening to FAMcast, the For All Manakind podcast, with your hosts, the competitive spirit, Trey Simpson, our own devil's advocate, Tim Weber, and the hopelessly optimistic Trevor Jorgensen. This is FAMcast.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to FAMcast. This is episode 79. I'm here with the lovely Trey Simpson.
Hello, everybody. Long time no see.
Yeah, I got to be honest. It's been weird not doing a podcast, but without having review consoles and review games, like there hasn't been a whole lot that I've felt extremely passionate enough to talk about.
Right, I feel you on that.
Because at that point, it's a lot of I don't know. So I guess that's why there's been so much time between this and the last episode, but not much longer because we are
2 days.
We are officially in next gen launch week. So exciting!
Oh yeah!
It's man, it's crazy to think that it's finally here.
Right.
We, like you said, we're only 2 days away from Xbox. This Thursday is the PlayStation. There's a lot to be, well, maybe I won't say that. I was going to say there's a lot to be excited for, but I think it's just to each their own at this point.
Yeah, definitely to each your own.
Because there are definitely, for some people, there might not be a reason to pick up a console right now. But that's kind of why I thought, a next gen launch podcast, these are our final thoughts before we actually get hands on, right? So there's been a lot discussed by other influencers that, have gotten hands on with the console and the games. So we've been following that kind of closely. Some more information about some of these consoles, like specific specs. So this isn't not necessarily like a which is better, but just throwing the facts out there. So this will be good for people that maybe aren't, you haven't decided what you want to get yet if you're only getting one, or maybe you just kind of want to know how they stack up against each other. I think just from what we've seen, I don't want to speak for you, Trey, but I feel like there's not really a wrong decision.
No, there's definitely no wrong decision. Like either way you pick, you're winning no matter what.
Yeah, you are stepping into next generation gaming for sure. So that's why I'm excited for this, man. It kind of helps kick off our next gen season of content. There's so much to play, so much to experience. I even picked up an early DualSense controller from Best Buy.
Yeah, me too.
Whoa, it looks so realistic. So, and I'll get into that a little bit more later, just on how it feels, but it's exciting to actually hold a next generation controller, but also a little disappointing because I can't do anything with it.
Right. It's frustrating.
It is. So yeah, I'll get into that later. So the last couple nights for next gen launch,
'twas the night before next gen.
Right, and all through the house. So we've got both consoles coming into the Fam house this week.
Yep.
Let's start with I was trying to think of like a good starting point on like maybe to talk about how they stack up against each other. And I think one of the things I see talked about most is the solid state drive.
Yes.
Because each console has a solid state drive. So we're looking at faster speeds than we were before, obviously. But
right,
there is
kind of skip the whole generation of storage, to be honest, right? I mean, we went from like actual like disk-based hard drives into SSDs, or the NVMEs, instead of having like the regular SSD format, I guess would be what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I can't say that I'm too familiar with what the previous gen used. I know that some people were able to like plug in SSDs as like externals and run the games off that way. But yeah, I'm not. I have to say, this is as For All Manakind as a group, this is our first time with a like a next generation launch.
Yep.
So that kind of makes this even more exciting because we haven't done I guess, coverage before. It's always just been like, oh yeah, pick up this console and play the new games, and that's
Right.
it.
Right.
I mean, last generation I was
Exciting.
still working at GameStop.
Dang, that's true. I
Yeah,
didn't even think about that.
yeah.
Wow.
Which is wild to think about. So this time it's a little bit different from. It's just a completely different viewpoint that we
Yeah.
get to go in. So I'm a little more savvy, I guess. Not that
Yeah.
I'm an expert by any means,
Yeah,
but
a little more seasoned.
yeah, you do more research,
Yeah.
with this type of stuff. So going into the solid state drives, each one's going to be quick no matter which you pick. But
Yeah.
if we stack the actual speed side by side, you're looking at on the PlayStation 5 on their, because they've got their special custom SSD, 5.5 gigabytes per second, which is insane,
Insanely
right?
Fast. Yeah.
And then you look at the Xbox Series X, and you're looking at 2.4 gigabytes, which is still quick, absolutely quick. But looking at them side by side and seeing that the PS5 is twice as quick is
Yeah.
really impressive.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, we've been watching some of these reviews, and I believe one of the reviewers we watched said that to go from a completely powered off PlayStation 5, power it on, jump into a game, say like Spider-Man, it takes under a minute. So the time, that console like loading up and everything,
Yeah.
having the game load up, your save file load up, all that in under a minute.
That's crazy, man. That's insane.
That's the
Just thinking
biggest.
about like what we've come from, like from like PS2, right?
Yeah.
Oh, can't wait. Ready to play some Final Fantasy 10.
Yeah.
Let's sit down for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's just nuts to think about something like that.
It's kind of wild because I feel like the loaded times are the most next gen thing about these consoles.
100%.
Like the graphics are obviously very impressive, but man, sitting in a loading screen for like 5 minutes for Avengers is just painful.
Yeah.
Like I'm so glad that we finally taken that step, because you could tell that was kind of the games were evolving and getting more robust, but the hardware, at least for these hard drives, the speed wasn't there. So it's very cool to see how fast these things can load up, and it's kind of reminiscent of, think back to the cartridge days where you didn't have installs or load times. You popped in the cartridge and you're in. It's kind of funny to think that the most next gen thing, yeah, right. The most next gen thing about these consoles is something that we had, 25 years ago.
Right.
It's just funny how it all comes full circle like that, I guess. But yeah, so under a minute, just as an example, and being able to switch between games, just in the blink of an eye. So if you're playing Miles and you want to jump into Bugsnax, because I'm sure I will be doing that switch quite a bit.
I have a feeling I'm going to be playing Bugsnax a lot.
Yeah. It's
as much as I ripped on it when I first heard about it, I was like, no, I'm kind of into it.
Dude,
I'm down.
The
voice free on PlayStation Plus.
Yeah, a surprise PlayStation Plus launch title, just to kind of kick off your collection, which is really cool. Yeah. So being able to swap between games, which I know the big thing for Xbox, or one of the big features that they've been touting, is the quick resume, right?
Yep.
So being able to jump right into your, like, where you were at in the games between multiple games, like you're playing Borderlands, then you're playing Gears, and you just swap in between them. That's really cool. Don't get me wrong, that is a really cool feature, but I feel like it doesn't look as great now as it did previously, because now that we can see the PlayStation 5 can swap between games, even though you're not in the same spot, you're actually loading them from the start. But if it only takes seconds, it's not as big of an impact for a quick resume.
Right. Which, at least for me, it's not important just because I'm not going to be playing multiple games all at once. Like usually, and I think it speaks for the both of us. I think we both are like, okay, we're going to play one game and one game in, and like when we're done with our session, it's off.
Yes,
we're not like, okay, I want to play this. Okay, let me switch over to this. I'm gonna do this. Okay, I'm gonna do something else. And I'm gonna switch over to this. I don't see the point in it personally, but it's still super impressive.
Yes, it's very personal. Like you said, I'm like a binge gamer. Like think about when Death Stranding came out, which, shout out, Death Stranding came out a year ago today.
Shadows continue.
Which is wild to think about. That I remember the day before it launched, I flew out to New York for that gallery, stayed there for only 30 hours and flew back, and then went to the midnight launch to pick up the console that night. I don't think I've ever done anything so wild for a game before in my life, man. But so worth it.
I would have been right there with you, but
oh, dude,
I ain't got it like that.
Sorry, I got off track because of Death Stranding. So like when I play a game, I'm a very much a binge gamer, to where I'm going to play one thing straight until I beat it or until I'm done with it. Right. But someone like Tim, quick resume is probably awesome for him, because he can go from playing, a couple matches of Cold War, and then maybe he wants to jump into Fallout 76 and keep playing around in there. Tim plays around with a lot of games at once. So that's going to be an awesome feature for him. And kind of on the same talk track of storage, we have to talk about the limitations of the storage. So we've talked about the speeds, and we know that PlayStation 5 is twice as fast. But the Xbox kind of has the advantage when it comes to storage space, right? Right. So the Xbox Series X launches with a terabyte hard drive, a usable 802 gigabytes, whereas the PlayStation 5 launches with an odd 825. Yeah, which is just an odd number, but it is a custom hard drive. So, but their usable space is 667. So I had to do the math beforehand, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it in my head off the bat here. So it's a 135 gigabyte difference. So the PlayStation 5 has about 17% less storage. So not a huge gap, but I mean, definitely a couple games worth. Yeah. Yeah. So it obviously that depends on the game, right, especially when we're talking about Call of Duty with its wild,
massive.
But again, this is another thing that comes down to personal preference too. To whereas someone like me, I don't really need external space, because once I'm done with the game, I can just uninstall it and then install whatever I want to play next. And
right, I think we're in the same boat on that too. When it comes to playing games, I think like with PlayStation, I'm going to be playing maybe 2 to 3 games max all at once. And if I'm done with the game, I'm going to install it. It's always going to be there. It's just going to be in my library. Yeah. I mean, same thing with Xbox too. I can say the same thing. Like, I'm going to have multiple games on it. If I'm done with the game, I'm going to install it. But I guess the perk of Xbox is Game Pass, which we'll get to that later, I'm sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it really comes down to how we all play, because like we've already talked about with Tim, he's going to go between multiple games. So he actually told me that he ordered one of those expandable storage cartridges already.
Yeah.
So which is really cool on the Xbox, because it's the same type of storage that you have in the built-in hard drive. So you're going to have the same speeds. So it's not like you have to get this extra storage, and it goes a little bit slower for the games that are installed on there. Just it works the exact same way. So for someone like Tim, that extra storage is going to be huge, because he plays so many games at once. But I'm glad they have the option. PlayStation does not have that option at launch, which hinders them a little bit, right? Because they're also starting off with a lesser. Yeah, they're starting off with less storage right off the bat. But they did say those are coming in the future, so I'm not too worried about it either way. But I'm glad they have that coming for the people that will impact.
Well, those are going to be internal, so you actually have to like open up the PlayStation and put those in.
From what I saw, you lift off the top. I haven't been hands on. Yeah, so you just lift off that top lid, I guess. I don't know what you call it, but yeah, there's just a slot in there.
Like
I don't know how many slots.
And then like the top lid, and then it's like on like the far right side, and it's like I don't know how it's gonna work, because it looks like there's like I think there's like 4 different pegs or like 4 different like inserts. Yeah. So I don't know if it's gonna be like one thing where you just like plug in, that's that, or if it's gonna take up all of those slots, and that's gonna be where the extra internal is going to be, but I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how many slots you can actually load up for the people that don't like to delete. Because I don't get me wrong, I know that it's not for me, but I understand the appeal 100% to not have to delete especially with how large these games are, to not have to delete your games and you just bounce between them whenever you want. Without
that's why with my PlayStation Pro right now, it's like I have so many fighting games on it because pre-COVID we had a bunch of fighting game tournaments that were going on, so I would sync up with all of my fighting games, and then I've got like Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, Spider-Man. Like I've got all these loaded up on here, and then when it came down to where my computer wasn't working, and I was like, oh, I got to install Modern Warfare. It was like, nope, you gotta like remove stuff. I was like, oh, great.
Yep.
But, oh well.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting. I'm excited to see kind of. We've seen how a lot of reviewers have reacted to it, but I'm interested to see how if there's like a large demand from the consumer side of things for these expandable storage cards, I guess, because we're back to memory cards now.
I mean, I guess with Xbox it's going to be a lot easier because it's literally just plug and play. With PlayStation, I mean, you're obviously going to have to do some work to get it in there, but I think that's more of the appeal for the Xbox part of it, because it's just like, okay, this is going to be all of my like racing games, boop. All right, all my other games, boop. Like I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that it's just plug and play.
Down to that, of course.
Yeah. If you're someone that has that many games that you want installed and you've got the money to throw, $220 down on a card.
Yeah, that's a little rough.
The price point's a little rough for sure.
I think from what I understood, the PlayStation one is going to be around 130 or 140. I think is what I saw.
They might just be rumors because I don't think they've announced anything officially yet.
Yeah, it's probably just a rumor.
So, I mean, we haven't even seen if they're only going to be proprietary. Or are they going to be, third parties going to be able to put these out? So we'll see. So that's it for coverage for the storage. So we know that the PlayStation is faster, but doesn't have as much capacity. So we'll see how that plays out when we get hands-on with it. If there's something that you'd like to see us kind of compare load times on, or even just like boot up size, let us know. I'm happy to do some tests on Tuesday and Thursday.
Yep.
So next, getting into the controller. So I feel like normally that's one of the things that people are most excited to see in a next gen launch is what you're going to be using. Like this is what you're going to be using while you're playing these games. And the DualSense is definitely, it definitely fits the aesthetic of the PS5, and it really broke. I mean, we've seen the DualShocks for 1 through 4, and they look exactly the same, for the most part, right? The biggest change was the touchpad. That's literally
like this has been the same thing since PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
And then PlayStation, the first DualShock, when it had the first analogs, that's it. Take that away, boom, there you go. That's the original.
And
PlayStation
minus the home
DualShock.
button.
Right. Then it's a home button, or just the start and select, or it just had PlayStation in the middle of it. That was it.
Yep.
Coming into the next gen, it's a huge difference, man.
Yeah, it's the controller's a lot bigger. It feels more like a hybrid between the Xbox and the PlayStation controller now. But it feels very good. It's got, a decent weight to it. It's not heavy, but it's not. That's one thing I always liked about the DualShock 4 is I felt like it had a nice weight to it.
Yeah, for sure.
So this has the same touchpad. It's got the built-in mic. The one thing that I'm most excited for on this controller, which we can't test out yet, is the haptics and the adaptive triggers.
Yep.
To where like if you pull back on a bow, it's actually going to have some resistance to the trigger here. And it's apparently the haptics on this are just insane. Whether like you're feeling rain kind of like sprinkling throughout the controller, or there's a big explosion. Just the different ways that they've used haptics instead of just vibrating for the sake of vibrating is
right.
It'll be really interesting.
I guess for me, I'm kind of curious if it's going to be similar to the Switch's haptics. Although some of the games didn't really utilize it that much.
Yeah, they kind of touted it, but I feel like no one really uses it a whole lot. Or it's not as big of a deal as they
right. It's not as big of a feature. Yeah.
It was cool though. I remember playing it on 1-2 Switch and like rolling the marble around.
Yeah, that was the main one that I thought was like super cool. Like, I was hoping more games are going to use stuff like that, but it ended up just coming down to different like pinpointed vibrations, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where we'll see that kind of amplified in the DualSense. And a lot of people that have been hands-on have said that that's the most next gen part about the PlayStation 5 is the controller. So yeah, we'll definitely be hands-on with that to give you some impressions later this Thursday. But switching over to the Xbox controller, they didn't really change a whole lot. But I don't think a lot of people wanted a lot of change. I think Xbox fans are, they're pretty happy with the controller. I think they've kind of done what PlayStation has done. That they just made small adjustments throughout the years. Obviously, the biggest one from the original Xbox to 360 because
the Duke.
Yeah,
Duke to 360.
Yeah, that was a big jump leap there. But now this time around, they made a change to the D-pad where it's that
it's like
I don't know what you call it. Yeah, it's kind of like the Elite, to where it's the full circle. It's not like a separated D-pad. It's not like the plus sign. It's like a plus sign in a circle. If you can visualize, I'm trying to visualize it for people that are listening to audio only.
Think of it as like a plate.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a
dish.
a bowl. Yeah, like a dish. And you can basically do 360s with it pretty easily with your thumb.
Yep. So they did that change to the D-pad, and then they added the share button, which I'm very excited for because I feel like I use the share button a lot on the PS4.
Yeah.
And the lack of that on the Xbox, like having to hit the guide button, go over to the menu, and then hit the capture.
Yeah.
That is just kind of a pain. Whereas if it's in the moment, like especially if it's a real-time game like Call of Duty and you want to get a screenshot or a video clip, you don't have time to, go into the guide and go over.
Yeah, it can't take you out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited for the ease of capture. What I'm excited to see, because I know both kind of have revamped their apps. I'm excited to see how easy they make it to share videos and screenshots. Even just saving it to your camera roll on your phone, but also just easily, I know you can like easily tweet it out on PlayStation and things like that, but I hope that they make it easy to share these moments, because I feel like that's such an important part. Like it's cool to be able to share it in like within the console, send it to your friends that also have a PlayStation, but being able to just text it to someone, I feel like is a lot more
up to date.
yeah, it's just more accessible. Or even just Twitter, being able to post it to your followers on Twitter. Hey, look what I just did, because you're not going to be friends with everyone on PlayStation that you are on Twitter.
I feel like that's something that hasn't really been shown off, is how that share button is going to work.
I guess I can't, nothing that I've looked too far into, just because I feel like, okay, it's a share button. That's probably something that, I'm kind of curious now, the specifics on how it works. I mean, on PlayStation, I'm sure it's just the one button for screenshot and hold for video clip. I know with the Xbox, you can go in and adjust it, just like you can. So do you want it to be a 4K clip, and how many seconds do you want it to be, kind of thing? But yeah, I don't know specifics on that. So huge change.
We'll see Tuesday.
What was that?
So we'll see on Tuesday.
Yep, we'll see. So some smaller changes for Xbox and their controller, some very big changes for PlayStation on theirs. Very excited to, especially with Astro's Playroom. That's their built-in kind of Wii Sports title to showcase the controller and what all it can do. And I've heard it's actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun.
I'm excited I think it's a cool way to show off the controller when you have friends over. Not that we're in a place in the world that we can do that. But, especially over the holidays, for those that are safely gathering with, family, hopefully in small groups, you can show off to mom and dad how cool the DualSense is. So next, another big one that I think will be, this will kind of determine for a lot of people which one they go with first, and that's the launch lineup. So I think I've already said that there are, there are some people that are just skipping this generation kind of right off the bat. They don't feel the need to buy one on day one, and I think that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
Especially for Xbox. So does Xbox have a large we've talked in the past that it's not the Game Pass is the next gen for Xbox. It's not the Series X. Yeah. It's not the X or the S. Game Pass is next gen for Xbox. So they don't have any, as we know, Halo Infinite got delayed, so they don't have their big AAA in-house launch title. And even Medium was supposed to launch in December, and now that's in January, I believe.
I think so. Sounds right.
So they don't have anything really that was built for the Series X and S to show off. So they're really kind of relying on Gears 5, which you see that a lot. Gears Tactics. You'll have Borderlands 3 on there. So they're relying on games that we've already played that have been, enhanced. They're Series X enhanced, but there's nothing really new. And I think that's there's people like me that I like to have. I'm a day one adopter to where I like having the latest and greatest and playing around with it and seeing what the differences are. I just like being a day one adopter. But there's a lot of people that they don't feel the need for that. And I 100% agree. I have to say I'm looking forward to getting the Xbox in, but I'm not excited, if that makes sense. I'm excited that next gen's here, but there's nothing that I really am like, oh, I can't wait to play it on or play on it. I'm going to pick up Assassin's Creed Valhalla because that looks amazing. And I kind of got out of Assassin's Creed for a while there. The last one I played was
Origins.
Thank you. Which I really liked. But I don't know. This looks great. I like the Viking stuff. So we'll see how it performs. That'll kind of be my benchmark game, I guess, for
yeah. I mean, it's one of the titles that they were saying is going to be like the next gen game for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So flipping that over to PlayStation, what their launch lineup looks like, they do have some, in my opinion, they've got a stronger launch, mainly because of 3 games that come to mind. You've got Miles Morales, Spider-Man, which that's the one I'm most excited for sure.
Same, me too.
the 2018 Spider-Man game was,
phenomenal.
We've never had a Spider-Man game like it before. I think before that, a lot of people consider the Arkham series kind of the definitive superhero game.
De facto superhero game, without a doubt.
Yep. And I'm glad to see Spider-Man is now on that level because, man, it was good.
Yeah.
So Miles Morales, you also have Sackboy, or I think it's Sackboy's Big Adventure.
Yep.
Which would be fun. I like the Sackboy games. They're fun to play around with. It's got local co-op, which will be fun. And then you also have Godfall, yes. Yeah. But the big 3 that come to mind are Demon Souls, thank you. Which everything that we've seen shown off for next gen, Demon Souls looks the most next gen out of anything I've seen. Easy. It's just kind of wild to I watched the PlayStation showcase. They don't call it a showcase. They don't call it a direct. They call
State of Play.
State of Play, the Demon Souls State of Play, and just seeing all of the enhancements that have been made since the original.
Gosh.
Like going from, I don't know much about Demon Souls, so this might sound dumb coming from someone that hasn't played it, but I know that when you walk into the fog, there's that like a little bit of
load time.
Like not that it's like a whole lot, but it just looks so seamless. The amount of, I guess, debris that you would call it when they were showing off this like really tight kind of underground castle-y kind of area, and there's all this debris like vases and books and just all kinds of stuff littering the place, and the fact that it just doesn't impact the 60 FPS. I don't know. It's just really cool to see how great this game looks.
Yeah, I mean, I will say on PS3, Demon's Souls was my first game that I'd gotten, and seeing that and what it's come to, insane. Insane. Like, I think, like you were saying before, Demon's Souls is absolutely like the game that looks and probably feels like it's next gen, you know?
Yeah. One of the other things that stood out in the state of play was they were talking about the haptics and the adaptive triggers and stuff, and how, like, if you're loading up like a fire blast or whatever you call it, like you actually feel it in the controller.
Up. Yeah.
So
really cool.
It'll
really
be
excited
cool
to see what else they do with that, man.
Yeah. Especially if I think Tim said it in Discord, if different weapons feel differently. Like if, you know, like a giant broadsword kind of feel like you kind of feel the weight in the triggers, whereas, you know, like daggers, it's probably like less resistance and quicker.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Yeah. So very excited for those, but I kind of slipped up and said it earlier. This is one I'm very excited for, is Godfall. From Gearbox, which is a looter slasher. So if you're familiar with Borderlands, you know, looter shooter, this is kind of the same thing, but with weapons and like over the top armor, just like giant plate suits of armor that are all just like really
like kind of animalistic themed. And
like as over the top as you can imagine, like a plate suit of armor, and the weapons are huge. And I've tried to, like, I try and watch a few videos on it, but I don't want to watch a whole lot on it. But it seems like you're kind of going through and defeating these godlike figures, almost like in a God of War style, and obtaining powers. But I like the idea of a looter slasher. I like playing a lot of, or when I play games where I have the option, I like to be more melee, I think. So I'm very interested in playing that. There's co-op available, so hopefully, you know, squadding up with some people to try that out.
That'd be nice.
And again, one of my most anticipated PlayStation 5 games is Bugsnax.
Oh yeah,
definitely be playing that. It's all about Bugsnax.
Talking
about Bugsnax. Very, very interested to learn more about this game. I think there's more to it than what we've seen in the trailers.
Yeah, I think so too, man. It's making it too like kitty looking and goofy, but I think there's something underlying behind it.
Yeah, there's a secret that we haven't seen yet, and the fact that the voice acting, or the voice acting cast is just really impressive.
So strong.
Yeah. So all that to say, I know that was a lot, but comparing the launch day titles for both games, where you have a lot that is Series X enhanced on the Xbox, but nothing that was built for the Series X. Whereas you have something like Demon's Souls, where it was made, like, this is made for the PlayStation 5. You can't really make the argument for Miles, I suppose, because it is playable on PlayStation 5, but on PlayStation 4.
I'd say they built it around. I think they built it around the PS5 because it's gonna have the 3D audio and the haptic and all that stuff.
Yeah. I guess.
And it's got the ray tracing and the
for sure
mode, 4K 60. Like, I think it started on PS4. Then as they got closer to PS5, they're like, okay, we need to make this like next gen, which I can see the difference, at least between the PS4 and the PS5 version for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's what I guess that's what I'm referring to, is a game that was strictly built with the PlayStation 5 in mind.
Gotcha.
To where there's nothing is kind
of not held back, but
you're not holding back, because you have to make sure that this is, you know, also playable on, you know, the PS4. So all that to say, again, looking forward to both to some degree, but as far as games I'm looking forward to playing, they're all on PlayStation 5 right off the bat, other than Valhalla, which I'll be picking up on Xbox just to have something, because that's also coming out on PlayStation 5. So there's nothing that's specific for Xbox that I'm extremely looking forward to. So launch lineup. So I think one of the last items I had on here, because I tried to make a list of things I wanted to compare, because we're really just stacking these two up. Talk about backwards compatibility. So we know that on PlayStation 5, majority of PS4 games will play on your PS5, which is great. It's better than last generation, right?
Where nothing worked.
So yeah. Whereas Xbox, I mean, it's hard to beat what they've done. Basically everything from last gen that isn't Kinect only, you can play.
Yeah, all the way to the original Xbox.
Yeah. So I know they'll have a handful of original Xbox games, majority of 360 games, and then, like I said, all Xbox One games minus Kinect games, which is just wild, right?
Yeah, that's insane.
Being able to play games that you've always or that you've had from pretty much any Xbox in the past, you'll be able to play on this version, which I think that just ties back into their strategy. Mm-hmm. It's not about what you play it on. It's just making it accessible wherever you play.
Yeah.
So, whether you want the next generation experience with the X, or you just want that, that mid-ground digital only upgrade with the S, or maybe you're not there yet and you're still sticking with the Xbox One. A lot of these games that are coming out are going to be compatible with all three for quite some time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so just two different approaches.
Yeah, the Xbox's back compat is insane. I wish PlayStation would get on that. I know they like PlayStation Now and stuff like that, but it does not compare to Xbox whatsoever.
Not at all.
Like even with them having a Game Pass, that's insane. Like it's the best thing. If you're a gamer and you don't have the Game Pass or Game Pass Ultimate, what are you doing?
I saw a line on Twitter, and if I can find the original tweet, unfortunately I didn't like it, but the quote stuck in my mind. I'll have to try and find it. And I'll put it in the comments below, because I love the way that they explained next generation. They said, if Xbox is a Netflix in the sense that you have subscribed to Game Pass and you have interchangeable games every month, some come in, some leave, then that makes PlayStation 5 cinema. And I thought that was such a great comparison.
Yeah, that's really good. Dang, I like that.
Because I love both, right? Netflix, you're constantly able to play a wide variety of games, and there's always something new to look forward to. And there's also stuff leaving. But then with PlayStation 5, that's like the way to experience your games. And I feel like with their custom solid state drive, obviously, both perform at 4K 60 FPS, but the comparison for PlayStation 5 being cinema in the sense that they are kind of pushing next gen where Xbox is pushing accessibility, I thought that was just a brilliant really way to explain.
That's a really good way to explain
the two consoles.
I love it.
Yeah, I was just really impressed with that, because I can't say it any better. Like, I love what Xbox is doing with Game Pass, but I'm also someone that I like that cinematic experience. We were talking the other day about how a lot of these PlayStation 5 games and Xbox games, you have the option to play in performance mode or fidelity mode, right?
Yeah.
So you can either play at 4K, 30 frames per second with ray tracing on.
All the bells and whistles.
Yep. All the bells and whistles. Or you can play at 60 frames per second and get that, the extra frame rate in there. And I haven't been hands-on with it, obviously, because we don't have the consoles, but I think I'm going to be more of a fidelity person, where I want all the bells and whistles. I want to see how this really perform, or how everything looks. Mm-hmm. But I will definitely be toggling between the two just to get the full experience.
Yeah. I'm quite decided on what I'm going to be playing with. I'll probably end up, I guess I have no choice of doing it in performance mode, just because I don't have a 4K TV. Hopefully Santa will hook me up with one this year.
Right.
But I think a majority I'll probably be in performance mode because I'd much rather see things as smooth as they could be.
Sure.
Until I get that 4K TV, then I'm gonna
Yeah.
be fidelity mode for sure.
So we've gone over kind of how the two stack up against each other. Now I kind of wanted to get into some questions that we got from the FAM community.
Yeah. Fam mail.
Our FAM mail section. So these were kind of specifically around next generation. The first one was PlayStation dominated the last generation. What does success look like for Xbox this generation? Does that mean that it outsells PS5, or is it more of a like continue carving out their niche with Game Pass? What does success look like for Xbox?
I'll definitely say the latter. I think Game Pass is going to make the Xbox super successful.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you're getting access to all the first party titles day one
Mm-hmm.
for free. Well, not free, but for that
Included.
Included $14.99 or however much it is. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yep.
And that's just something that PlayStation just doesn't quite have. I mean, because with Game Pass, you're getting it with xCloud, which I've been using that since it started, and it is the coolest, the best cloud gaming platform there is, hands down. Just the fact that I can be at my mom's house, I can whip out my tablet and be like, okay, I'm bored, I want to play Forza, get a couple laps in, why not? Boom,
Right.
done. Whereas PlayStation, they have like the PlayStation bundle, or what was it called? The
PlayStation Collection.
PlayStation Collection, which they said they're going to be having games rotating in and out, which is cool.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just I thought it was like a one-time.
No, I'm pretty sure they said that they're going to have games rotating in and out. But if I'm wrong on that, please comment in the comments down below.
Yeah, my understanding is it's just kind of like a set collection. Like here's 12 or however many games,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all PS4 games, but just kind of things to beef up your collection.
Either way, give us a holler in the comment section or in the Discord. Let us know. But yeah, I think Xbox, they have that made with Game Pass. I think once they get their first party titles rolling, I think they're going to be a lot more successful than they were last generation. Just because, I mean, Halo itself, like Halo Infinite, it's been a rocky road so far. But once it's done, I think it's going to drive a lot of sales for Xbox, and that's just for me, anyways. Because I know once that drops, I'm going to Xbox immediately. Yeah, I mean, PlayStation just coming out strong with these titles, man.
Yeah, I think for me, so the question of what does success look like for Xbox this generation, I think it is just building on the value of Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've kind of made it clear that it's not about how many consoles they're looking to sell. I don't think that's where they are defining their success by outselling the PlayStation 5. I think they're going to keep building on the value of Game Pass, whether it's through acquisitions, just other titles being added, or there was the tweet that went out today from the Game Pass account about Mandalorian and the Child. They didn't give any information, but are they looking to include Disney Plus in the future? Yeah. Like if they did that would be just insane. Like that's an extra $7 a month value that they've already. I don't know. It wouldn't make sense to me, but I remember thinking that Game Pass just didn't make sense to me right off the bat. I'm like, how are they giving all these games for this price? Like it just didn't make sense. And like day one titles. It's like, how are they maintaining a profit off of this? So I think they will just continue to just build off of Game Pass. Yeah, that's where they see success. They built
an incredibly strong ecosystem, right? I think it would be dumb of them to not build off of that. So
they're not going to measure success off of console sales. They're going to measure it off of subscribers.
Their service, their subscriptions for sure. I can definitely agree with you on that one.
So the next question we had was, what year will it be before we really see games start to push the new hardware to its limits? So I think for this one, because Phil said it previously to where they're going to continue to support Xbox One alongside Series X and S for the next 2 to 3 years.
Mhm.
I don't think we're going to see games that kind of really push next gen to its limits until that's over with.
Yeah.
I think kind of like what I was saying before, when we were talking about their launch lineup, we're not going to see something that really pushes what the Xbox can do until they are done supporting the X,
Right.
or at least making these games supported on the X. Once you have the team going in like, okay, we are building this game around the Series X and S, that's when I think we'll start to see these games really push to their limits.
So we'll say at least first party games, right? I think there's potential that there may be a company out there that could decide, hey, we're not going to be making this game for Xbox or for Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
We strictly want to make this game like baked in RTX, all this other stuff specifically for the Series X. So
yeah,
I mean, maybe not the first party games, but I think there could be someone out there that could be making something.
I mean, look
next year.
at Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah,
I can
exactly.
guarantee you that will not be on
That's not gonna
PlayStation
be on
4.
PS4. There's no way.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that will just, as far as first party goes, kind of like what you said, Trey, I think first party, it'll be 2 to 3 years. And then like Trey said, it'll really be up to the publisher, but we're looking at Demon Souls already kind of pushing the limits of what the PlayStation 5, or as far as that's the top of the line thing that we've seen so far. So I think it just comes down to the publisher or the developer. Yeah. How badly will Xbox not having Halo Infinite at launch hurt? I think, go ahead.
I think it's got a reason why some people wouldn't want to get it, because it's like, why would I buy an Xbox Series X when I have an Xbox One X that I can play all these games and they look pretty good already?
Yeah. It just goes back to without Halo Infinite, there's not a reason to pick up a Halo or an Xbox exclusively. There just really isn't.
Yeah, it's like,
but that's just for now. These launch lineups or these libraries are going to grow down the road that's just the way that games work.
Nature of the beast.
Yeah. So it'll hurt, I think, but again, it's not about console sales for them. It's about Game Pass subscribers. So as long as they see that number going up, which I'm sure it will, because I'm sure we'll see more acquisitions. We'll see more value added to Game Pass.
Definitely.
So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm interested to see the actual numbers for like maybe 2020 sales for the consoles. Will we see another this kind of ties in. Will we see another big acquisition from either Sony or Microsoft on the scare of the Bethesda acquisition?
I wouldn't even call it a scare. I still think, I know they paid and they dished out big bucks for Bethesda, but I still think they're going to make games on both consoles. But there's just a rumor mill, which I doubt it's even a thing. There's a rumor that PlayStation might buy Capcom, but again, doubtful. Just because they are one of those multi-console, multi-branded companies.
If I saw Capcom go anywhere, like to either one, it would be PlayStation
for easily.
With their history with, all their games. Right?
Yeah, Street Fighter 5 was exclusively on Xbox, on PlayStation and PC.
The Resident Evils were exclusive to PlayStation for a while, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, they were on Nintendo consoles. I was trying to think of like any other franchises that were kind of like exclusive, like even in like the PS1, PS2
Well,
era.
the beginning was like strictly just PlayStation.
Yeah.
Xbox wasn't around then. It was just PlayStation. That was it. So
I did see another tweet today, not to just keep talking about tweets that I've seen in the last 24 hours. But I saw
Twitter's
Xbox
a war zone right now. Come on, man.
Yeah. I think it was Xbox Japan that said something to, was it Bloomberg, about hold on. I'm just going to pull it up because
Which, I mean,
it
that-
was.
That is one thing. Since you're saying Xbox of Japan, right?
Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. I had it mixed up. So several Japan-based game developers have said to Bloomberg that Microsoft has approached them about buying their business. Again, who knows what that could just be a complete fabrication.
Yeah.
But again, with Game Pass being their bread and butter, they need to build up. They need to maintain this level of value.
Yeah.
And they can't stay stagnant. So it makes sense to look forward to more acquisitions. It does worry me a little bit because I don't want this to just become a monopoly to where you can only play these things on Xbox. And then we're just back to, I don't know, we've almost completely flipped to where people are saying we don't have enough exclusives on Xbox. And then it's like, now I can only play everything on Xbox.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that happen, but I think exclusive content, or early access, sure.
Yeah, kind of like a Destiny route, right? Where it's like available on everything else, but PlayStation had I think a multiplayer map before Xbox did.
Yeah,
but what I was going to say is that I think if that's the case of Xbox needs to make a bigger presence in the Asian market because they're all about PlayStation, right? Like people are buying Xbox Series X just because it only had the Ultra Blu-ray. Like PlayStation has such a strong foothold in there. If they're wanting to get into that market, I think if Xbox was going to try to do that, make any kind of acquisitions, it would have to be some kind of Japanese company or some kind of company that that market's going to recognize so they can jump on board and buy those games.
Yeah, they're not going to just without any thought just buy anyone that they're able to. They're going to look at where are their gaps, right?
Mm-hmm.
They already have some.
360 did pretty good in Japan, just because all the fighting games did really well. The netcode was really good. PS3 wasn't doing very hot because of the netcode was really bad for those games. Yeah. But and then Xbox Series or Xbox One came out, and then it kind of tanked again because of PS4 just being
right
so cut out and bread and butter for them.
Sure.
I don't
know. So I'm sorry. I'm just trying to do these rapid fire just because I know that we could, some of these we could make a whole podcast about.
Yeah, for sure.
So I want to make them a quick hit. So I don't want to feel like I'm cutting you off. So if you have more to say.
I was done anyways. That was it.
So yeah, all that to say, if anything, I'm more scared of more acquisitions. Not that it's necessarily a bad thing, but I just looking into the future, I don't want us to just have these monopolies of.
Yeah, I think with Xbox's current model, I don't think they're going to be taking games away from people if they're coming to PlayStation as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's more about, it's not about making it exclusive. It's about making it the best place to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we talked about that on the last podcast to where it's more about, I can either use my Game Pass subscription to play Fallout and Elder Scrolls Day One with no additional charge, or I can just buy the $70 version on PS5.
Right.
If you're already subscribed to Game Pass and you don't want to just throw out $70, then it makes more sense.
Right.
So that's my idea of their model. Will we see a Switch Pro that closes the gap between Switch and the PlayStation 5/Series X?
Switch Pro.
We've seen rumors, right? There's.
Oh yeah, there's definitely been rumors for sure.
I think last I saw was like a spring, even as early as spring,
wow.
which kind of falls into, if you look at a lot of their digital stuff, like with their Fire Emblem release and their 35th anniversary collection for Mario, a lot of it is at the end of March. Some people say it's because of the way that the fiscal year falls, but other people are saying, is that because they're looking to launch some new hardware? So, I mean, nobody knows, right? At this point, we can only speculate.
Yeah.
I think that they have always been in this awkward middle ground. But it works for them. They don't,
Nintendo, man.
Yeah. Nintendo they're running a completely different race. And as we've seen from these pandemic numbers, they're thriving.
Oh, they're just fine.
They don't need to compete with the Series X or the PS5. That said, I think that, people would love to see a maybe a 4K dock even.
Yeah, I mean, even that alone would be even better.
Yeah, I would 100% be okay with you, like us just having the same Switch. I don't think there's anything wrong with like the handheld version of the Switch, other than, you know, the Joy-Cons drifting, but that's a different topic. But just creating a completely different dock, which I feel like the way that the Switch works, and I could be wrong because I don't know how all this works technically, but I feel like it's based off of the dock. So you'd still play in 1080p on the handheld version, but when you put it into the dock, you have this 4K version. And I don't think we'd see something like 4K 60 FPS. It'd still probably just be the 30 FPS, but who knows?
I would love to see it.
Yeah. I mean, it's
like if we could get a handheld 1080p console, and then the dock turns into 4K.
Yep. 100%, man. I would love to see. I mean, granted, I've loved all the games they've put out this year, even without that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
I think all the games look fantastic with the like just the size of the screen and how awesome the controllers are. Well, minus the drift.
Yeah.
Sold.
Yep.
I'm all for it.
And then the next one's kind of a fun one. Predict the biggest gaming headline of 2021.
You go first.
What the biggest headline that I see in 2021? PlayStation 5 Pro just announced.
I'd be pissed. I would be so
many
mad.
people.
I know it's going to happen down the road.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it's going to happen down the road, but I'd be so pissed.
Cyberpunk 2020 or 2077 delayed.
2078.
Yep. They have to change the title of the game because it's
delayed?
not that far in the future anymore.
Headline.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I think it would probably be something, if we're talking biggest announcement.
Well, headliner, I mean, I would say if anything would be God of War, right?
Well, it doesn't have to be. Well, I mean, that's already been announced, so I don't think that would be like the biggest thing.
Like a big surprise. Okay.
I think it will just the biggest headline in general. I think it would be another acquisition on either side. Obviously, I can't predict that.
Please buy Capcom.
But yeah, it could be something wild like PlayStation buys Capcom, Xbox buys Sega. I think it'll be another big, like thinking back to the biggest headline of this year.
I would love it if Xbox would buy Sega. Oh my gosh.
Thinking back to the biggest headline of this year, I think it was that Xbox bought Bethesda. I don't think anything beat that out, even next gen included. I think that was kind of the biggest headline we saw this year.
That took everybody sideways, man.
So I kind of see it following that trend of, especially with, Game Pass being their version of next gen, we're going to see acquisitions in the future. So that's my prediction for 2021's big headline.
2021, and I know everyone's, at least we have some people in the Discord that want to hear it, but Legend of Dragoon remaster or remake. I'm sure Kenny would love that. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there in our community that would love that. Another headliner, man. What's a huge game? Maybe Part 2 Final Fantasy gets announced? I don't know. Final Fantasy 7 remake?
Part 2 would be awesome.
That's so hard to, like, I can't think that far ahead right now because, like, I don't know what studios are up to. You know what I mean? It's like COVID is just like has me in this funk where it's like I can't think that far ahead right now.
Overwatch 3 announced?
Yeah, right. I haven't even heard 2. No news since 2.
Yeah.
It's been
a year. A year and a couple of days since we got our first news of Overwatch 2 and then nothing.
February. Let's hope.
Yeah. That's my take.
Yeah, I can't really think of
that's
anything
fair.
as far as
that's fair, man. It's
a game in the future.
It's been such an unpredictable year. It's hard to look past what this week will hold. So
yeah, I would say
that's
Legend
fair.
of Dragoon.
Legend of Dragoon is the biggest headline of 2021. You heard it here.
You heard it here first, folks.
But appreciate Discord coming through, the FAM community coming through for those questions. If you've got some for our next podcast, because now that we're in this next gen train, we'll be doing these a little more often. Throw them in the FAM mail channel. If you want us to answer something on the next episode. Also, while I'm on it, since it's recent news, thank you for stopping by our Extra Life stream a while back. We once again raised $1,000. And if you haven't seen Trey since, you'll notice that his hair is a nice Extra Life teal.
Yes, sir.
Since we hit one of our milestones. So hitting $1,000 for Nationwide Children's here in Columbus, Ohio is just awesome. It's always one of it's really our biggest event every year. It was a little bit different since we couldn't be in person, but you guys still came through regardless. So appreciate you guys helping out the kids again this year. What else has been? Oh, I mean, other than that, really just looking forward to this next gen content we'll be putting out. If there's something you guys want to see, I think someone in Discord wanted to see like the boot times kind of compared on each one. So we'll be doing that, just kind of, cold boot times on each one compared to, jumping into a game, what it looks like to switch. So if there's something you want to see on these consoles, I will be playing with this all week long. So I'm excited to test out a few things. Let us know what you want to see. Any last thoughts before we get ready for the next generation launch week, Trey?
No, I was going to say, if you're needing to reach out to us anyway, please go to our website, forallmanakind.com. You can get our podcast there with multiple links to all kinds of services that we can hear it from, as well as our socials, and there is a Discord link in there. Excuse me, sorry about that. But yeah, should be sure to hit us up. We love any kind of feedback, and let us know of any content you'd like to see for the next gen.
Yeah. Until then, we are going to rest up. It's going to be a long week ahead, a very exciting week. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to comment below if you got any questions. Subscribe if you want to be notified when the next episode comes out, because it won't be too long. Appreciate the support. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you guys on episode 80. Later.
Thanks for listening to FAMcast. Be sure to subscribe for the latest episodes and follow us on Twitch, Twitter, and our other socials at For All Manakind.